Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the NBA DFS Core Pick video for today, Wednesday, February 14th. If you join me for the very first time, first of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going over a recap of yesterday's picks, seeing how they ultimately ended up turning out. After that, we'll get moved over to RotoWire and talk about the injuries in play for tonight's slate overall. And with that being said, it's going to be a 12-game slate on DraftKings, 13-game slate on FanDuel. They'll have the final game of the night. So a pretty large one just in general overall. A lot bigger than we've seen for quite some time, it feels like, as we do head into the NBA All-Star break. So this will be the second to last day of NBA DFS content as we head into the All-Star break. And then after that, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and FanDuel and talk about my core picks for today. So it's going to be one player at each position. So point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. But without further ado, we'll get started with a recap of yesterday's picks. So on DraftKings at the point guard position, went with Tyler Hero yesterday, $6,900, looking for 34-35. Only got to 31.25. He was a miss, only played 30 minutes in this game. Mainly scoring dependent yesterday, and the Miami Heat did blow out the Milwaukee Bucks in pretty good fashion last night. So a little bit unfortunate there. Probably plays a couple extra minutes if that game's a little bit more competitive, and probably has a little bit better performance overall. And then at shooting guard, we have Malik Monk, $5,800, was looking for at least 29. Got to 37.5, so he was a hit. At small forward, we ultimately end up on Simone Fontecchio, $4,700. We're looking for 24 points. Only got 20 yesterday, so he was a miss. Only played 26 minutes in this game. Looks like it was a little bit of a blowout as well. Kind of some weird rotations for the Pistons last night, so we'll see kind of what's up with that and whether or not that ultimately ends up being the case once again tonight. And then at power forward, we had Rui Hachimura, $4,700, looking for 24 out of him. Got to 24.25, so he did ultimately end up being a hit. And then last but not least, at that center position, we had Bam Adebayo, $8,300, looking for 41.42 out of him. Got to 54.5, so he was a really good hit on the DraftKings side yesterday. I do believe he did end up with a triple-double in that game, so pretty solid performance for him overall. But with that being said, a pretty decent day for DraftKings yesterday. As long as you had some other good plays alongside this core, you had a pretty good chance of cashing. Hopefully you guys got to some Duncan Robinson and some Nikola Jovic, because they ultimately end up paying off in a pretty big way for that Miami Heat team overall. And then on the FanDuel side, we had D'Angelo Russell at that point guard position, $7,900. Looking for 40 points. Only got 27.9. He was a miss. Played 32 minutes in this game, mainly scoring dependent. And kind of like I said with the Pistons side, a little bit of blowout there as well, so a little bit unfortunate for him yesterday. At shooting guard, we had Anthony Edwards, $9,100. Looking for 46. Got to 55.8, so he was a really good hit on yesterday's slate. At small forward, once again, we had Simone Fontecchio, so he's more expensive on FanDuel, $5,600, looking for at least 28 out of him. Only got to 18.8, so he was a mess. Once again, only played 26 minutes in that game yesterday, a little bit of blowout as well. Then at power forward, we had Rui Hachimura at $5,400, looking for at least 27 out of him. Got to 24, so technically he was a miss. Played 30 minutes in this game, was mainly scoring dependent. As the day kind of went along, Nikola Jovic was starting. Maybe this should have been him overall because he was a pretty cheap play on yesterday's slate. But then you kind of run into the situation, well, what if he only plays like 14 minutes and then they kind of play Jaime Jaquez and Kevin Love behind him and then it just doesn't work out for him. So a little bit of risk there. We're probably going to Nikola Jovic today, which probably will end up being that situation just because we didn't play him yesterday and then we will play him today. But that's going to be a story for a little bit later. And then at center, we had Jalen Duren. He was $7,800, was looking for 39 out of him, only got to 19.6. He was a miss. Only ultimately ended up playing 23 minutes in this game. Kind of weird rotations for this Detroit Pistons team overall. So just kind of an unfortunate day on the FanDuel side. A little bit more hit and misses on the FanDuel side. You would need some other really good plays to kind of make up for it. Whether that was Duncan Robinson, Nikola Jovic, a couple other guys that were up there at the top as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to RotoWire and talk about those injuries in play for tonight's slate. Once again, it is a 12-game main slate on DraftKings, 13-game main slate on FanDuel for tonight overall. We are going to start off with the New York Knicks, who have OG Anunoby, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson all out once again. Isaiah Hartenstein listed as questionable. We'll see whether or not he is back tonight or not. But, if I'm these teams, some of these guys that are questionable, you might as well give them the extra day off, especially if you're not playing tomorrow, and then kind of have that whole week long for your All-Star break because teams don't come back for games until, I believe, Thursday next week. And then we have Dante DiVincenzo, also listed as questionable. He played a lot of minutes in their most recent game, but is listed with a hamstring injury. So we'll see whether or not he ultimately ends up playing tonight. And if he doesn't, who ends up starting in his spot, whether it's Bogdanovich, whether it's Alec Burks, or someone else. And then for the Orlando Magic, they're on the back-to-back, so we'll get their injury report later on today. Same thing with the Miami Heat on the back-to-back. We'll get their injury report later on today, but it's safe to assume that these three guys are out once again. We'll see whether or not Kevin Love does sit out on the second half of the back-to-back. It's something he's typically done so far this year, but last time I said that, he actually did end up playing on that second half of the back-to-back. The 76ers have Nick Batum, Robert Covington, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, Kyle Lowry, and DeAnthony Melton all out once again. So pretty much what we saw out of them in their most recent game. And then for the Atlanta Hawks, we have Capella, Griffin, Gaye, Wesley Matthews, and Okongwu all out for tonight's game. So Okongwu is the newest one there. They are running pretty thin in terms of center depth at this point in time. We'll see whether or not Bruno Fernando ultimately ends up starting in this game. If he starts, he's probably going to be pretty popular, especially with this being an earlier game just in general. We'll see whether or not he ultimately ends up paying off at that price tag. But, if Charlotte's going to go out there and they're going to play Nick Richards, or they don't really have another big guy anyways. So I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue for Atlanta. I think this game is more likely to go small just in general. So could favor Grant Williams off the bench for the Hornets, who have been playing a lot of minutes just in general as well. And then on that Hornets side, we got LaMelo Ball, Mark Williams both out once again. Cody Martin listed as probable to play once again with his knee injury. Brooklyn Nets and the Boston Celtics both on the back-to-back tonight, so we're not going to talk about them. They will have updated injury reports as the day moves along. Looks like Ben Simmons is going to sit out the second half of the back-to-back. And then for the Boston Celtics, would assume that Al Horford sits out the second half of the back-to-back as per usual. We'll see whether or not Kristaps Porzingis is good to go tonight or not. If he's not, then you're obviously looking at kind of like a Luke Cornett or Quetta getting those minutes at that center position tonight. Could both be value plays overall. Unless, Xavier Tillman is healthy enough to play in this game, then kind of opens up a big can of worms at that position overall. For the Chicago Bulls, we have Patrick Williams out once again. Alex Caruso listed as questionable due to that toe injury. He did miss their most recent game, so we'll see whether or not he's good to go tonight or not. And then we got Torrey Craig and Dalen Terry, both listed as probable to play for tonight's game overall. On the Cleveland Cavaliers side, we got Ty Jerome, Tristan Thompson, both out once again, and then Dean Wade listed as questionable to play tonight. Did miss their most recent game due to illness. We move down to the Pacers, who have James Johnson and Jalen Smith both out for tonight's game. Neither one going to make too big of an impact overall. Benedict Mathurin listed as questionable to play. He's going to be a little bit more impactful for kind of the rotations and everything tonight. And then the biggest impact, Tyrese Haliburton listed as questionable to play. He's been questionable for quite a few days in a row. However, there is some rumors out there that he might ultimately end up sitting in this game. And if that's the case, we'll see what the starting lineup ultimately looks like tonight once again as well. Then we move over to the Toronto Raptors. It's really just RJ Barrett listed as questionable due to personal reasons, so we'll see whether or not he plays tonight or not. Obviously, if he doesn't play, it's going to shake up the lineup just a little bit in general. Probably get Bruce Brown starting in his place. Noel is technically listed as out, but he's down in the G League. And then we move over to the Washington Wizards. Isaiah Livers is out once again, so no real changes there. For the New Orleans Pelicans, they got Dyson Daniels out once again. Cody Zeller and Zion Williamson both listed as questionable to play tonight. Cody Zeller is probably the less impactful one there, obviously, since he's kind of their third center at this point in time. And then Zion Williamson, we'll see whether or not maybe they give him that extra day rest with that foot injury he's been dealing with for quite a while. For the Houston Rockets, they have Tari Eason, Fred VanVleet, and Cam Whitmore all out once again. And then Reggie Bullock also listed as questionable to play due to a back injury, but he doesn't really make too big an impact on the slate overall. And then for the Memphis Grizzlies, we got Desmond Bane, Brandon Clark, Jake LaRavia, Scottie Pippen Jr., and Marcus Smart all out for tonight's game. And then we have Zaire Williams and Derrick Rose both listed as questionable for tonight. So we'll see ultimately whether they're back tonight or not. If I had to guess, probably not, since they're going into the All-Star break just in general as well. Moving down to the San Antonio Spurs, just Marcus Morris out once again. He has not played since he's been traded with the team. They probably have no intentions of truly playing him, and he's a little bit banged up at this point in time as well. For the Dallas Mavericks, Dante Exum remains out, but Derek Lively is listed as questionable to play tonight. We'll see what that center rotation looks like if he's able to go. And then we have Maxi Kleber listed as questionable due to his toe injury, so we'll see ultimately whether or not he plays tonight or not. And then Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving both listed as probable to play once again. Both have played, last 4 games or so when it's been similar designation as well. Sacramento Kings are on the back-to-back, so we'll see what their injury report looks like as the day moves along. Trey Lyles did get ruled out later yesterday since he was dealing with an illness that did pop up halfway through the day, so probably safe to assume that he'll be out once again tonight. For the Denver Nuggets, we got Ken Carr and Tyson both out, and then we have Jamal Murray and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope both listed as doubtful to play tonight. So it could be a little bit of value opening up on this Denver Nuggets team with a couple extra minutes to go around for a lot of these guys. Safe to assume that Reggie Jackson starts, and then we're either going to see like Justin Holiday or Christian Brown enter that starting lineup as well. Probably going to be Justin Holiday, although he has not done much of anything so far this season. And then we move over to the Pistons and the Suns. They're both on the back-to-back, so nothing we can really talk about there. Bradley Beal did ultimately end up getting hurt last night, so he will not be playing tonight overall. And then we move down to the Lakers, who are also on the back-to-back. The Utah Jazz are all the way healthy at this point in time. And then for the Clippers, we got Bones Highland, Kawhi Leonard, and PJ Tucker all out for tonight. And on the Golden State Warriors side, just Chris Paul out for tonight. So with that being said, that's the quickest little rundown that I can do for the 13 games in play for today overall. As always, if there's any injury updates coming out throughout the day, I will have them listed down in the comments below, as well as the starting laps as they do get announced throughout the night. But with that being said, we'll get moving over to DraftKings and talk about my core picks over there. So at the point guard position on the DraftKings side today, we have Trey Mann at $5,000. Going against the Atlanta Hawks, it's a pretty good pace-up spot just in general. He's played pretty well since he's been with the Charlotte Hornets team. He's been playing decent-sized minutes, so you have $5,000. You're looking for 25 points out of him at the bare minimum. Currently, I'm projected for about 28-29 on the DraftKings side tonight. Could have a little bit upside for more. Could have a little bit downside for less at the same time as well. Then at shooting guard, we're going to go with Buddy Hield. It's not the greatest matchup against the Miami Heat tonight, although they are on the back-to-back, so they might be a little tired just in general. But since Buddy Hield's joined this Philadelphia 76ers team, he's played really well. So do like him quite a bit tonight at $6,300, looking for 31, 32 points out. I'm currently projected for 36 fantasy points tonight, but definitely does have some upside for more if he's going out there and shooting the ball well once again. And then at small forward, we're going to go with Duncan Robinson. He was a guy that you probably needed on last night's slate since he played extremely, extremely well. But $4,400, looking for 22 points out. He's averaging almost 23 so far in the season. Should be getting some decent-sized minutes with all those guys out for the Miami Heat once again tonight. If he's going out there, if he's shooting the ball well, he's definitely going to outperform this price tag of $4,400. Currently, I'm projected for about 26 fantasy points tonight on the DraftKings side. He might have a little bit of upside for more. Definitely does have some downside for less, if his shot's not really going down, but I don't really foresee that being the case once again tonight, though. And then at power forward, we're going to go with Grant Williams here, $4,300, looking for 21, 22 out of him. I think this game really does ultimately go small, although Grant Williams has been playing a good chunk of minutes since he's been with this Charlotte Hornets team, and he's played really, really well for them. So maybe he's a little pissed off that the Mavericks traded him away. Maybe he's just getting some extra usage and then playing pretty well in those extended minutes, in that extended run, and a little bit bigger role just in general. But either way, looks like a pretty favorable matchup against the Atlanta Hawks. Do currently have him projected for about 24 DraftKings points tonight. Definitely could have some upside for more as well, though. And then last but not least, we're going to go with Walker Kessler at that center position, $5,000, looking for 25 fantasy points out. Averaging 25.5 so far in the season. 3 out of his last 4 games, he's played at least 26 minutes, and in all 3 of those games, he has had at least 30 DraftKings points. So definitely do like that upside that he does present once again tonight. Obviously, going against the Lakers, a little bit tougher matchup against Anthony Davis. But, if the Lakers ultimately end up resting like Anthony Davis and LeBron James tonight, there could be some extra upside for a guy like Walker Kessler, going in a matchup where he's either going against like Christian Wood or Jackson Hayes at that center position for the Lakers tonight. That would be a little bit more favorable for him just in general. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do currently have listed here, you have $25,000 exactly remaining. That is half your initial budget. So just over $8,300 per player, definitely on a room and flexibility to pay up, whether it's going to be for a Luka Doncic, whether it's a Nikola Jokic, any of those other star players near the top, definitely a lot of room and flexibility to do that. Obviously, there's probably going to be some other values that do open up throughout the day, especially with some of these guys that are questionable, especially given the fact that we are so close to the All-Star break, and these teams might give the questionable players, that extra day off headed into the All-Star break just in general. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my picks over there as well. So on the FanDuel side at the point guard position, I was really torn between 2 players here. So I like James Harden. Ultimately ended up throwing Paul George in the core for today. If you like James Harden over Paul George, play James Harden at your point guard position. But if you like Paul George a little bit better, then you can play him at small forward or shooting guard, obviously. But you could even throw both of them in the same lineup together if that's something you really want to do as well. For the sake of the core for today, I did ultimately end up going to Reggie Jackson, $5,400, looking for 27 out of him, averaging just over 20 so far on the season. It's a pace-up spot versus Sacramento Kings tonight. There is no Jamal Murray, so probably looking for about 30 minutes out of Reggie Jackson tonight. If it's a good Reggie Jackson game, you're going to be happy that you have him. If it's kind of one of those lackluster games, probably not going to be too happy. So maybe he's a little bit more of a GPP play than anything, but I do currently have him projected for 28 FanDuel points tonight. Then at shooting guard, we're going to go Kelly Oubre here at $6,700. We talked about Buddy Hield on the DraftKings side. Kelly Oubre is playing a big role for this team at this point in time, playing big minutes, being a good scorer offensively. If he does that once again tonight versus the Miami Heat, he's going to look pretty good. $6,700. Looking for 33, 34 fantasy points out of him. Currently, I'm projected for 35 tonight. Does have some upside for more if he's going out there and he's shooting the ball well. But, if it's a lackluster game, there is some downside for more at the same time as well. Then, once again, we're going to move down to Paul George, small forward tonight. There is no Kawhi Leonard, so Paul George, James Harden, they're going to look a lot better. Obviously, their usage will go up by quite a bit. Same thing could be said about Ivica Zubac as well, although he's kind of still on a minutes limit, so probably not getting to him tonight just in general as well. But Paul George, $8,200, looking for 41 fantasy points. He's averaging just 38 so far on the season. It's a good pace-up spot versus the Golden State Warriors tonight. I do like him quite a bit. Currently, I'm projected for about 43, 44 fantasy points tonight. He definitely does have some pretty strong upside for more, obviously with no Kawhi Leonard out there on the court once again tonight. Then at power forward, we're going with our paydown option, Nikola Jovic. He is $3,900, looking for 19, 20 points out. Got the start last night. If he gets the start once again tonight, going to be a very interesting play. If he doesn't, then that's probably going to be a different story for a different day. But if he goes out there, if he gets decent-sized minutes, going to look pretty good overall. Currently, I'm projected for about 22, 23. Definitely has some upside for more, but definitely does have some significant downside for less at the same time as well. Then last but not least, at that center position, lots of different options that you could take tonight, whether you want to pay up, whether you want to pay down. Ultimately ended up on Bruno Fernando here at $4,000. This could be another cheap option like a Luke Cornett at $3,900 if he ends up getting the start for the Celtics. If Kristaps Porzingis is out once again, and then obviously if Al Horford rests on the back-to-back. So a lot of different ways this could change throughout the day. But, if Bruno Fernando's starting, going to assume that he probably gets at least 24 minutes. Going to look all right at this price tag of $4,000. You're only looking for 20 fantasy points out. Currently, I'm projected for about 23 tonight. So looks like a pretty good value play overall. If it's somebody you really don't want to play, obviously there's a lot of different options at that center position once again, though. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do currently have listed here, you have $31,800 remaining, just under $8,000 per player. So a good amount of money remaining, whether you want to pay up for some high-priced stars, whether it's you, Luka Doncic, if you really want to pay up at that center position to Nikola Jokic, you could do that as well. But if you kind of want to take it a tier below that in terms of salary, there's going to be a lot of good guys to put in there, as well as some of the values that could pop up throughout the day as well. But with that being said, these are my core picks for both FanDuel and DraftKings for today, February 14th. As always, if you have any questions related to NBA DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comments below, and I will get back to you as quickly as possible. I do ask that you please note whether those questions are more DraftKings or FanDuel specific, just so I can best help you as quickly and efficiently as possible. And then, as always, I'll be leaving all the injury updates down in the comments below as they do get announced throughout the day, as well as the starting lineups as they do get announced throughout the nights. So definitely be on the lookout for that, especially as we get closer to lock. And then as we do get closer to lock, I will have my updated core posted about 15 to 20 minutes prior to lock. Might be a little bit earlier than that since it is Wednesday. Usually try to get it out probably a little bit closer to 5:30 on Wednesday and Friday, but it will be listed as a pinned comment. If there's any other additional changes to that updated core after that point in time, I will leave them as a reply to that pinned comment as well. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking it out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we just have NBA DFS going on in terms of the core pick videos Monday through Friday. Tomorrow will be the last day of NBA DFS for about a week due to the NBA All-Star break. So hopefully you guys enjoy the NBA All-Star game, the All-Star festivities, the All-Star break just in general. And even if you don't, just take some time away from basketball for a little bit. Enjoy some time with your family, your loved ones, everything else like that. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS, Prize Picks, and Parlay Play. If you are a brand new user to any one of those 3 sites, when you sign up, you make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus. For Prize Picks and Parlay Play, it's a 100% match on your initial deposit up to $100. For BetUS, it's 125% of your initial deposit up to $2,500. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there, especially if you're interested in getting into sports betting or prop betting just in general. Heck, you can even bet on some of the All-Star Game festivities for the NBA, whether it's the three-point contest, the dunk contest, lots of different opportunities out there, whether it's the game itself. I wouldn't recommend betting too much on that stuff because it is kind of a fun contest to watch, but there is opportunities to be had out there. And then with that being said, if you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in NBA DFS tonight.